He was stunned by what he saw. His daughter, who had autism, was whispering to a peacock, wondering if this was some kind of sign. He tested her gently.
They're gonna get all your crackers.
For the first time, she didn't fall into silence. Instead, she lifted her face and gave him a smile as bright as the sun. At that moment, a bold idea took root in his mind. He would buy an abandoned zoo. He would give his daughter a childhood filled with love and wonder. But when Benjamin told his brother about the plan, his brother thought he was crazy. He knew the zoo had gone bankrupt. It covered an area as large as 18 football fields, with more than 50 species of animals still inside. Even worse, the villa and the zoo were bundled together for sale. To get the house, Benjamin had to take the entire zoo, animals, staff, and all. With his limited savings, he could barely cover the first month's operating costs. Still, Benjamin held on to his idea. He calculated that the zoo's main profits came in the summer tourist season. If he could renovate and reopen within 5 months, it might turn a profit, maybe even bring in good income. But his son Dylan strongly opposed the move. For him, moving to the countryside meant leaving the city, his friends, and everything familiar. In contrast, his younger sister couldn't hide her excitement. Despite all the objections, Benjamin's determination only grew stronger. He would rather risk everything on an uncertain future than let his family sink further into grief. Just 6 months earlier, Benjamin had been the host of a well-known adventure show. He had calmly walked through the eye of a Category 4 hurricane and traveled the world exploring. But the sudden death of his wife forced him to leave it all behind. He became a full-time father, managing his children's daily lives while also worrying about their fragile emotional states. Since losing their mother, his daughter had fallen almost completely silent. Dylan, on the other hand, was consumed by grief. He hid his pain behind rebellion and had become a notorious troublemaker at school. After 3 violations on record, the principal finally expelled him, but also warned Benjamin that Dylan's mental state was far more serious than the expulsion itself. Benjamin knew that if things didn't change soon, their lives would be swallowed by darkness, so he thought about starting over in a new place. But none of the houses recommended by agents felt right until they drove into the countryside. There, a quiet villa appeared before him. It was far from the city, peaceful, with wide-open rooms filled with sunlight. It seemed like the perfect place to heal his children's hearts, but the agent hesitated before explaining. This villa could only be purchased together with the zoo. At first, Benjamin wanted nothing to do with it. It was too risky, but as he prepared to leave, he suddenly realized his daughter had wandered off. He searched anxiously, only to find her happily playing with a peacock. Seeing the joy in her eyes, Benjamin finally understood some things were worth more than money. Dylan still refused to leave the city. Every street corner carried his mother's memory. He couldn't accept abandoning the place where she had once lived. But Benjamin believed that if Dylan was willing to take just one step forward, he would eventually be moved by their new life. On moving day, Benjamin and his daughter carefully packed their belongings. At the back of the closet, he found an old sweatshirt his wife used to wear. The fabric was faded and worn, but when he touched it, it felt as if her warmth still lingered. He placed it gently into the suitcase, as though inviting her to join them on this new journey. On the way to the zoo, Dylan kept his headphones on, shutting out the world. When the car passed the cafe where Benjamin had first met his wife, he felt her presence again, as if she were still watching over him with the same gentle smile she had given in every important moment of his life. When they arrived at the zoo, a banner read, "Welcome to the brave new owners." Through the window, Dylan noticed a blonde girl smiling at him. For the first time in a long while, something stirred in his heart, but reality quickly struck back. As they opened the villa door, a musty smell hit them. The rooms were messy and damp. Dylan muttered,
"Oh, I miss our home."
The next morning, Benjamin entered the zoo with Hope. Kelly, the head zookeeper, welcomed the family warmly and introduced the staff. Her cousin Lily stood out. She was only 13 but already taller than 15-year-old Dylan. Raised in the countryside, she had a natural closeness with animals. Her presence made Dylan feel a little uneasy. Benjamin then introduced his family and encouraged everyone to stay positive. But the problems were overwhelming. An aging Bengal tiger was in poor health and needed a specialist vet. Fences were leaning, facilities were crumbling, and food supplies for turtles and lemurs were running low. Most of the staff hadn't been paid in months. Benjamin stayed outwardly calm, but Kelly frowned. Did this man really care about the zoo's future? She asked the question everyone was thinking.
Why did you buy this place?
Why not?
That night, he went through the mountain of bills alone. He wasn't careless, he was just used to carrying the weight himself. The next morning, he picked up his tools and started repairing the fences, the most urgent safety issue. But while Benjamin worked, Dylan grew more withdrawn. Every night, the boy curled up with his mother's photo, crying silently until sleep came. Then one afternoon, Lily appeared. Her golden hair carried a faint fragrance. She handed Dylan a sandwich she had made herself. "What you doing?" she asked softly. She leaned closer to look at his sketches, so close his ears turned red. Before leaving, she said gently, "I'll bring you one every day at 4:15. From that day on, light began breaking into Dylan's darkness. Lily came each afternoon, bringing not just food, but warmth and color. Slowly, a smile returned to his face. Her presence, like sunlight, melted the ice in his heart. Meanwhile, Benjamin's daughter also began speaking more, no longer trapped in silence. Everything seemed to be improving until an inspector suddenly arrived for a surprise check. The atmosphere grew tense. The zoo's reopening depended entirely on his approval. He measured the fences and said coldly, "They must be 70 centimeters higher." This meant more costs, more repairs, more delays. By the end of his inspection, 15 violations had been listed. Repairs alone would drain huge amounts of money. Benjamin hid his frustration, but when he walked away, he suddenly kicked over a barrel. The staff thought he was giving up, but then he picked the barrel back up and waved as if to say he was fine. Kelly saw this and realized he wasn't a man who would quit. Still, he was out of money. Late that night, Benjamin opened his wife's old coat. Inside, he found a letter and a check. The check held $84,000, and the letter revealed a secret, one powerful enough to change their lives forever. Do you want to know what happened next? Follow me, and I'll share the rest of the story soon.